to be as crisp as her sit. Yes. So there's a little bit of, get it? Like when I give her the sit cue, I feel like she does that really quickly. Nadine, sit. Like there's no hesitation there.
Right.
She pops right into it. But when we do the down, now she's gonna do it right on spot. When we do the down, she tends to like kind of paw at my hands, or she'll try to like first touch, because the hand signals for down and for touch are pretty similar. So it's normal for them to be a little bit confused at first. Down. Yes. So yesterday I spent quite a bit of time just reinforcing the down cue.
Okay.
And when I did it, in order to keep her hands out of it, I kind of take a step back as I'm giving the cue so that she can't get her hands on my hand. So eventually I want to fade my own step back. So I was able to do that after about 5 minutes of working on it yesterday.
Okay.
So I don't want for me stepping back to have to be part of the cue forever.
Exactly. Makes sense.
But for now, I'm just trying to eliminate a habit that I don't like, because I don't want for the down to you to be this at my hands. Down. Yes, good girl. Okay, get it. Down. Yes, good girl. See how she kind of like comes with her nose.
Wow, it's
first?
amazing how much better she's doing.
It's so much better than it was. Like last week, getting her to lay down from standing was like an exercise in patience.
Yeah.
Right? Down. Yes, good girl. So she's got it pretty well now with the hand signal. Get it. So we want to add in the verbal cue also.
Okay.
Down. So when I give my hand signal, I'm adding in my down cue. So hand signals are easier for dogs to get than verbal cues.
Really?
Because dogs are very visually oriented. They're really aware of body movement. That's how they communicate with each other. So they think that humans use the same language, but of course we don't. So a lot of times too, my hand signals come from what was originally a lure. So this one, my down cue used to be a piece of kibble in my hand and pointing to the floor, and she followed it because her nose went toward my hand.
Right.
So I'm really just fading out the lure, keeping the signal, and then I have to pair a word with the hand signal.
Okay.
So I don't do that until I'm confident that my dog understands what the signal is first. Because if I start pairing my word too early, then I don't want to teach her that the word is like
the action.
You know, I run around for a second, I paw at your hands, I kind of like nose at your hand, and then eventually I lay down.
Gotcha.
So I want it to be really crisp and clean.
Okay.
To do it.
She getting water? Yeah.
Okay, Nadine, come. Yes, good girl. Very enthusiastic. Okay, get it. Nadine, come. Yes, good girl. Okay, good. So her come cue I'm just making into a game right now. Nadine, come. Yes. So when she comes to me, I give her a treat. I toss one out. She likes the part where she gets to chase. Nadine, come. When she's turning around to come back to me because she knows I'm the food source, so if she comes back, she's gonna get food. Nadine, come. Yes. Then I give her the cue. I use my hand signal, get down a little bit. Nadine, come. Yes. And reward again. So
okay.
I want to wait until I'm sure that she's going to come to me. Nadine, come. Before giving my cue. And I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, but going back to my penny jar metaphor again, that was for free. Yes. I want to build in as many chances as possible for her to get it right, so that I can reinforce it before I start testing whether or not she's going to do it with distractions when she's not looking at me, when she's outside, when there's something better to do across the room, etc.
Gotcha.
So the more times I call her when I'm confident she's gonna come, Nadine, come? Yes. The more pennies I put in that jar, the more reinforcement history we build up, the more likely she's gonna be, Nadine, come, to come to me when it matters. So even now, like my dogs are 14 and 9, and I still call them frequently when I know they're looking at me and when I know they're going to come because there's nothing else going on, like in my backyard. And of course they come running and I'm like, oh my gosh, what good dogs you are, and like shower them with treats and make a big scene about it. Because that way, when I do recall them, like my one dog is off leash all the time when we hike, and obviously I want him to come back when I call him.
Right.
Like if we see people coming, I want to leash him so that we can be polite and courteous to others.
Sure.
But if he doesn't have a strong positive reinforcement history, he loves people. So he would much rather run out and say hello to that person.
Just like this one.
Exactly. So since we practice it all the time, and I reward it all the time, making him, he does it really easily.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. So I always teach my come cue to go to my target, Nadine, come, because otherwise come can be a little bit ambiguous to our dogs. If we teach them just come means enter my orbit and you get a snack, then we run the risk of creating a situation where they just come just close enough
To get the snack,
and then it's like
then
a
they run off.
drive-by and they keep going.
Yep.
So, like yesterday when I had to catch a loose dog, it's so much easier if your dog comes all the way to your hand.
And whenever you call her or a dog, always have the snack available.
I reinforce my come cue as often as possible. Even though my dogs are old,
You still do it.
I still do it because not every time, but frequently enough. I would say for my two, I probably reinforce it.
Okay.
If we're in the house, and I call them to come to me, no, I reinforce that probably like
With love
10% of the time. I reinforce every time with verbal praise, and petting. But if we're outside and I call them, it depends on the circumstance. So I would say if we're just out for an average walk, and I call them because they're like obsessively sniffing a bush, and I'm like, okay, then I reward probably 50% of the time.
Gotcha.
If we're like off leash hiking, or we're at the dog park, or something really exciting like Smith Mountain Lake or a beach, then I reward it every time. Yes. I think.
Do you use the priority C snack as opposed to higher quality, or does it matter?
Again, it depends. If I'm just in my house, then, like I said, verbal praise is my go-to. If we are outside, then like on a walk or hiking, I usually have like 2 or 3 different kinds of treats in my bag. So I'll have something that's, just like a crunchy or chewy everyday kind of training treat. And then I have something that is extra stinky, like maybe some salmon jerky or something like that. And then I have something really high value, like my cheese and chicken and stuff. Yes. Okay. Get it. So I'm also, when I throw a treat for her, I'm making that distinct now from, I want to be able to also teach her that stuff that falls on the floor isn't automatically something she should go grab. Because if you're like I am when you meal prep, then you drop stuff all the time.
Right.
Maybe not everyone's as messy as I am when I cook, but I'm a disaster, and I don't want my dogs to like go pick up a whole clove of garlic or something. One time, actually, Linus ate an entire piece of like the stem ginger, and I was like, I heard him crunching it, and I thought, surely he'll spit that out because that can't be good. And he didn't. He ate the whole thing and swallowed it, and I was like, well, surely that's gonna come back up, and it didn't. He liked it. So now it's like anytime I'm cooking with ginger, he runs in there. Dude.
Wow.
He's an oddball. Anyways,
Wow.
So I'm saying when I toss a treat for her, did you lose that one? get it. I'm telling her to go get it, which will then set it apart from our leave it. So ideally, what we're gonna wanna teach her is that unless we say, get it, it is not for you. It applies, the leave it applies unless we specifically say, that one's for you, go get it.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, go get it. All right. So the next bit that we did was her weighted thresholds, which she's really good at. So I'm putting in my verbal cue and my hand signal for this one. So this one's her weight. I go through the door. Okay. And I release her with her okay, and I put my target out so that
Yeah,
she
I've
knows
noticed the
the
difference
target.
already this week when
She's
we go
so
out
much
the door.
better. Okay. Good job. We practiced it a little bit in her gait in her room yesterday too. Sit. Wait. Okay. Good girl. So I think for this one, she's doing really well. Like just, find herself with just me. Like I can go open the door and stand out on the porch for a second. So I think we need to start upping the ante a little bit and practicing with other people.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have, I think, 2 different days next week where
Okay.
someone should be able to come with me.
All right.
And so we'll start practicing a ritual for greeting people politely when they come in, and that's going to be contingent upon waiting at the threshold. And then once we pass through that portal, then okay, now you have to greet them without jumping like a crazy dog, etc.
Boy, it's spastic.
Yeah, if we could avoid that, get it. That'd be great.
She's come a long way in a short period of time.
I think so too. She's very smart. She really likes to do stuff. Down. Yes. Excellent. So her stay is really similar. This one is a flat palm. So this one is stay. Yesterday I went all around here. I won't test it too much right now since we're just starting it again. So I take a few steps back, return all the way. Okay. And release with my okay. So you want to make sure when you do stay, that you come all the way back before you release her.
Okay.
So she doesn't learn, oh, I get to right here and then I get up. Okay. Down. Yes. Stay. That's so nice. Okay. Good girl. You are so smart. Get it. All right. You want to do it again? Down. Yep. Stay. Oh, she's like, you're going around that corner, aren't you? I know. Down. Yes. Stay. There you go. Good girl. Okay. Good job.
Wow, you just started with her on that yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she's really good. So we're banking also on the fact that she already knows weighted thresholds, so it makes it easier to transition into the stay. The other thing that we practiced yesterday was just working on my body position changes, because ideally, I want my dog to be able to perform every cue no matter how I am positioned. So whether I'm standing or sitting or kneeling or on the floor, laying in my bed theoretically, I still want for her to perform the same cue. So since dogs are very in tune to what we are doing with our bodies, my body position when I am teaching a cue becomes part of the cue. So if I want my dog to be able to generalize it, that I have to also practice that way. Good girl. Okay, you ready? Go get it. So I started just like crouching down, asking for a sit. Sit. You can't still do it. Yes. Kneeling, like anything orienting to the floor gets her super excited. So.
Yeah, you're coming down on her
Yes.
level.
Yes, good girl. Okay, do it again. Sit. Yes, good job. Get it. Yeah, and the only time normally, sit, when we get on the floor with our dogs is when we're gonna play with them.
Mm-hmm.
So she automatically assumes like, oh, she's getting in the floor, we're gonna do something
Exactly.
awesome. And I don't want that to always be the assumption.
Because that's always the assumption with me. Because
Yeah.
that's when I.
Right. Sit. Yes. Good job. So this one's just kind of teaching her like, okay, our initial assumption needs to be that we are not doing that. Yes. And then if I say afterward, okay, now we're gonna play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Then we can do that. But I don't want for her to immediately start pouncing all over you when you sit on the floor. Like, what if you're just unloading grocery bags or something? Or
Which she usually does to me. As soon as I sit on the floor, she's all over me.
trying to tie your shoes.
Because she knows it's, yeah.
Sit. Yes.
Which, interesting you should say that. Because when I bring her down at night, when she has to go during the night, I'll sit on that step at the landing to put my shoes on.
Uh-huh.
And she's all over me. Because it's like, play with me, play
Right.
with me.
So yeah, as soon as you sit down on her level, she's like, oh. So yeah, I start stuff like this usually like with her sit and her down, and then I want to also down. Yes. I want to also be able to like change my body position while she's in place. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm giving her a treat as I move, so that first her receiving the treat is not really contingent upon her behavior. This is called desensitization, and counter conditioning. So I am providing her with a different consequence.
And we should be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're able to.
Sure.
Okay, can we do it again? Down. Yes. Good job. Okay, get it. Good job, Nadine. Down. Yes. Okay, get it. The other thing I've been doing, sit, down, is stringing cues together before I reward. So I'm not rewarding every single cue anymore. Get it? So I'll just kind of show you what.
Okay.
One example. Come. Sit. Down. Sit. Come. Can you do it? This one's tricky. Sit.
Well, especially on the floor because it's hard for her to grab.
She said I did it yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
It's okay, we'll do it again. We'll make it easier. Okay. Come. Sit. Down. Stay. Okay. Yes, good girl. So she does all of that for just one treat at the end. So that's going to help you in your everyday life. Fade your treats out just a little bit. So, a month from now, you don't want to have to reward every single time you say sit.
Exactly.
Girl. Down. Yes. Okay. So then we did leave it yesterday. So for leave it, I put a treat on the floor under my hand. So this is why we started desensitizing her to me getting on the floor, because it's easier if I can get on the floor to do it.
Sure.
I can do it standing with my foot though, so I'll show you both ways. But she can't be, jumping all over me if I'm going to try to teach her a cue while I'm on the floor. So I've got some kibbles in my hand.
Okay.
And I'm going to put them on the floor. Yes. And as soon as she stops nosing at my hand or pawing at it, yes, I'm going to reward her. So she knows this part really well. She sees my hand going for it now and is like, oh, yeah, we're doing the thing. So once you get that level, then you leave it uncovered. Yes, good girl. Leave it. Yes. And apply your verbal.
Because she knows another one's coming.
Right. So she knows if I leave those alone, yes, then I'm going to get a different one out of her pocket. So ideally, you want for the treat on the floor to be of lower value than the ones that you were offering. So I kind of just pepper those in. Like I've got a couple little liver treats in here that I throw in every once in a while, so it makes it worth her time. So she's really good at this part, where I just put it in the floor, and she's like, oh, yeah. So then, once she's good at that part, then we start adding movement to it. Get it? So then she gets an opportunity to come back and interact with this again. So she has to make a choice. Yes. Get it? Leave it? Yes, good girl. Get it? Great choice, I love it. So this is basically teaching her that leave it is permanent. Like when I say it one time, I don't mean 5 minutes from now that I'm going to change my mind. Yes, good job. So I'm ready to cover it up if I need to. Yes, get it.
Is she still aware? Is she aware that it's still there?
Oh yeah, she keeps looking at it. Get it. Yes, get it. So I can add to it. Leave it. Yes, good girl. Get it. She's like, if I stay really far away from it, I'm sure that's safe. I've had dogs that learn to dramatically turn their heads, like I'm not even looking at it. Yes, good girl. We had one that learned to scoot back. When we said leave it, she was like, oh. So okay, so that's the on the floor part.
Okay.
So my next part, where your reflexes have to be pretty fast, I'm gonna drop it, leave it, yes, get it. And this is where it's important to differentiate between your leave it and get it. Okay, get it.
Wow.
So we're gonna wait till she's looking, leave it. Yes, get it. Oh, that was tricky, isn't it? That's a good one. Ready? Leave it. Yes, get it. Leave it. Yes, good choice. Get it. Leave it. Yes, good girl. Get it. And she's like, that one looked really good though. Did look really good. Yes, get it.
So when she starts to go for it, you just cover it with your feet.
Leave it. I'm gonna see if she makes.
She's thinking about
Get it. Yep. So I'm giving her a second to think and to fully disengage before I reward it. If she's still fixed staring at it, yes, good girl. Then I don't want to reward it yet. Leave it. Yes, good girl. Get it. So at the moment, I'm not like throwing it like a psycho, you know,
Right.
halfway across the room. I want to be able to leave it. Yes. Get it. I want to be able to jump in if I need to, but I'm establishing a concept. So if something falls, leave it. Yes. Get it. If something falls on the floor, you wait until you either get a leave it or a get it. Leave it. Yes, good girl. Get it.
Wow.
So she gets it really fast.
Yeah.
But since we just started it yesterday, and for the next, probably week or so, every time you do it, you're going to have to kind of reestablish the rule. So the first few repetitions, I would expect for you to have to like step over
Sure.
it pretty quick. But she gets things really quickly. So we're teaching her basically a pattern.
Okay.
So
I
treat
get
falls
it.
on the floor. I am told to leave it alone. I get another one. So right now she's like, okay, this rule applies here. So we need to establish the rule everywhere. So I practiced it for a little bit in here. We went in there. We went in her room. I practiced it in your kitchen too. Like
Perfect.
practice making it look like you're dropping stuff off
Sure.
the counter.
Oh,
So
man,
that,
that's great.
especially in the kitchen, it's like, nope, just because it falls on the floor doesn't mean it belongs to you. Leave it. Yes, good girl. I
Yeah,
love
because
that choice.
something could actually fall on the floor that could harm her,
Right.
like chocolate.
Right, exactly. I one time exploded, get it, an entire bottle of Tylenol all over my kitchen.
Oh.
Oh no! So of course, like, I gave my dog the leave it, and then I went and put them somewhere else so I could clean it up, because holding that expectation when
Oh
you
my
clean up
God.
an entire room of exploded pills is a lot. Leave it. Yes, good girl. Get it. So this is helpful too. If you establish that stuff on the ground does not belong to you unless I say otherwise, that's just a good safety measure to have in place. So especially since you guys live kind of downtown,
Yeah,
there's stuff on the ground all the time.
all the time.
All the time that she should not be eating. Like greenways are unfortunately notorious for also just having stuff all over the place. Get it? A couple years ago, there was someone like planting poisoned trees out on the greenway out here.
No.
Yeah. So if you teach your dog like stuff that is on the ground is not for your mouth, unless I tell you it's for your mouth, then you
Wow.
can prevent stuff like that from happening. People
Good
are awful. So
God.
yeah, that was scary. That one, I was
Wow.
like, my dogs are pretty good, but I'm not gonna risk it. You're such a
Wow.
good girl. Questions? I think
Not at
that's-
all.
I think that's what we've done so far.
What are we looking at for next week? Do we have
Uh,
times?
I worked on my calendar today, so I will.
You'll just email them to
email
me?
you the times, and if we
Oh,
need
perfect.
to adjust, we can
Yeah.
noodle around a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, get it.
Because I was thinking this morning, it's probably good that we're varying the times that you're
I
coming.
think so too, because otherwise she's like, okay, every day at 9:30,
Exactly.
that's when we train, and other than that, I can do whatever the heck I want.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah,
Because
I think,
she's that way with her feeding, and she's
Uh-huh.
also that way with me taking her to what I call the Klein Dog Park, which is
Uh-huh.
that fenced-in backyard.
yep.
Because she knows that's when she's going to run and jump and play,
Yep.
and if she doesn't get that time, then she lets me know that she's ready for it.
Oh yeah.
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 So
I was
yeah.
telling someone today on Zoom, the Australian Shepherd mix. I know every night if I don't take her for a walk between 6 and 7, I know that at 7 o'clock she's gonna start running around like a crazy dog with her squeaky ball in her mouth, like making laps around my
That's
house.
what she does.
And so that's like punishment to me, it's like, well, if I don't walk her, then I'm gonna have to suffer while she runs around, like, because it doesn't bother her. She's perfectly happy to run around and squeak her ball for an hour, but it drives me nuts. So,
Well, you know, one thing that you did work on that you didn't show was her walking by your side.
Oh, that's right. We're having a water break. Then we'll return to that. Okay, Nadine, come. Yes, good girl. This one's pretty easy. So I get my little handful of kibbles so I'm ready. Put out my target. Yes. Yeah. And then I'm just gonna reward like one step, one treat. As long as she's by my left. Yeah. Yes. Yes. When I want to change directions, like let's say I'm in a corner, then I put my target out and tell her which way I'm going. Yes. So I can do it the other way too. So if I want to go this way, yes, good girl. Get it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're such a good girl. You're so smart. I like you very much.
Well, obviously she likes you the way she greeted you.
Oh yeah.